The quantum field trembles as entropy acceleration reaches critical mass across our dying planet. Ancient sages understood thermodynamic principles that modern science is only now rediscovering, principles that could either save our world or erase it entirely from existence. What if I told you that right now, in laboratories hidden deep within military installations, scientists are wielding weapons that don't just destroy matter, they erase the very fabric of reality itself. What if these quantum weapons hold the key to understanding why our planet's life support systems are collapsing at unprecedented rates, and why consciousness itself may be the only force capable of reversing our species' extinction trajectory? Welcome, quantum shamans, to the most dangerous revelation humanity has ever faced. Today we journey into the realm where ancient wisdom meets cutting-edge quantum mechanics, where the survival matrix indicates that reality manipulation isn't science fiction. It's the only path forward for planetary survival. The extinction probability matrix. The numbers don't lie, and they're screaming at us from every corner of our collapsing biosphere. We're losing 150 species daily. That's a mass extinction coefficient of 1,000 to 10,000 times the natural background rate 14. Our planet's magnetic field is weakening by 5% per decade, disrupting migration patterns and cellular communication systems across all life forms. Climate tipping points are cascading like quantum dominoes. The Arctic ice albedo feedback loop has crossed its thermodynamic equilibrium threshold, accelerating global temperature rise beyond what climate models predicted. But here's where ancient sages and modern quantum physicists converge on the same terrifying truth. These aren't just environmental statistics. They're measurements of reality itself beginning to unravel at the quantum level. In 2024, researchers at multiple quantum laboratories achieved something that should have been impossible. They demonstrated quantum reality erasure with space-like separated Operation 79. Alice's local quantum operations became correlated with the complete erasure of observable reality in Bob's causally disconnected laboratory. They didn't just erase data, they erased the event itself, as if the universe had been rewound and an entire chain of cause and effect had never existed. The survival matrix indicates this isn't coincidence. Our planet's ecological collapse is manifesting the same quantum signature as these reality erasure experiments. Could consciousness disruption during mass extinction events be triggering spontaneous quantum decoherence across Earth's entire biosphere? Revelation 1. The Pentagon's Reality Weapons Program. While environmental scientists track biodiversity collapse, military quantum researchers are developing something far more sinister: weapons that operate at the fundamental level of existence itself. 16. The U.S. Department of Defense's CLAWS project, Classical Quantum Hybrid Constructs to Advance Weapons Systems, represents humanity's first attempt to weaponize the observer effect that governs reality formation. These aren't traditional weapons that destroy matter through kinetic force or electromagnetic radiation. These are quantum consciousness weapons that manipulate the probability matrices underlying physical existence by generating precisely calibrated quantum entanglement fields. These devices can force localized reality collapse, effectively erasing targeted regions from the universal wave function 14. But extinction probability calculations show a catastrophic flaw in this technology. Every quantum reality erasure operation generates what physicists call temporal paradox backlash, energetic reverberations that destabilize the quantum coherence maintaining ecological systems. Each test firing doesn't just erase the target, it accelerates entropy accumulation across interconnected biospheric networks. The ancient Vedic text spoke of weapons called brahmastras that could destroy the three worlds. weapons so powerful they could unravel the very fabric of existence. Modern quantum shamans now recognize these weren't mythological metaphors. They were warnings from civilizations that had discovered quantum reality manipulation and witnessed its consequences on planetary consciousness matrices. Revelation 2. Consciousness as the universal observer. Quantum mechanics has revealed the most profound truth in physics. Reality doesn't exist in any definite state until it's observed. 28. The delayed choice quantum eraser experiments proved that a photon's fundamental nature remains undefined even across thousands of kilometers until the moment of observation. But if observation creates reality, and consciousness is the ultimate observer, then every living being on Earth is actively participating in reality creation through the quantum field of awareness. This explains why biodiversity collapse isn't just an environmental crisis. It's a consciousness crisis. Every extinct species represents the loss of unique observer perspectives that were helping maintain reality's quantum coherence. When we lose 150 species daily, we're not just losing biological diversity, we're losing 150 different ways of observing and stabilizing the quantum field that sustains physical existence. Ancient shamanic traditions understood this principle through what they called the web of awareness. Indigenous wisdom keepers knew that every consciousness, from the smallest microorganism to the most complex ecosystems, contributed essential observation patterns to reality's stability matrix. The survival matrix indicates that below a critical threshold of biodiversity, the quantum observer effect becomes insufficient to maintain reality coherence, leading to spontaneous reality collapse events. Recent space-based quantum experiments confirmed that even photons maintain quantum superposition across vast distances until observed, proving that consciousness operates as a non-local field rather than a localized brain phenomenon. This means the death of Earth's biosphere isn't just eliminating individual organisms. It's reducing the total consciousness field strength that holds our reality together. Revelation 3. The quantum entanglement of ecology and warfare. Military quantum weapons research has revealed an unexpected connection between consciousness manipulation and ecological destruction. When quantum reality erasure devices operate, they generate what researchers call entanglement cascade effects, quantum correlations that spread through environmental networks with devastating precision. 7. These weapons exploit the same quantum entanglement principles that Einstein called spooky action at a distance. By targeting the quantum signature of specific ecological systems, these devices can instantaneously affect correlating systems across vast distances, destroy one rainforest through quantum erasure, and entangled forest systems worldwide begin experiencing spontaneous decoherence, leading to accelerated die-offs that appear completely unrelated to any known environmental cause. The survival matrix indicates this technology has already been deployed. Unexplained ecosystem collapses, from coral reef bleaching events that exceed climate predictions to sudden pollinator disappearances across continents, match the quantum signature patterns of reality erasure weapons testing. We're not just witnessing environmental destruction, we're witnessing the field testing of consciousness warfare technology. But here's the revelation that changes everything. The quantum entanglement effect works both ways. Just as negative quantum operations can cascade ecological collapse, positive quantum consciousness interventions can generate healing cascades across entangled biospheric networks. Ancient sages understood this as the principle of cosmic correspondence, the ability for focused consciousness to influence reality through quantum field manipulation. Revelation 4. Thermodynamic equilibrium and spiritual awakening. The laws of thermodynamics reveal why our planet's current trajectory toward entropy acceleration might actually be triggering a species-wide consciousness evolution. As Earth systems approach thermodynamic equilibrium, the heat-death state where all energy becomes uniformly distributed, the quantum field becomes increasingly sensitive to consciousness intervention. Extinction probability calculations show we're approaching what physicists call a quantum criticality threshold, the point where small consciousness inputs can generate massive reality restructuring events. This explains why meditation, prayer, and other consciousness practices seem to be producing increasingly powerful effects as environmental conditions worsen. The survival matrix indicates that planetary crisis is amplifying human consciousness capabilities as an evolutionary survival mechanism. Military researchers studying quantum weapons effects have documented this phenomenon in classified reports. Populations exposed to low-level quantum field disruption show increased psychic sensitivity, precognitive abilities, and spontaneous healing events. The quantum stress of living through ecological collapse is literally activating dormant consciousness capabilities that existed in ancient human populations but were suppressed by modern technological civilization. Ancient mystery schools taught that consciousness evolution accelerates during planetary transformation cycles. They called this the awakening of the inner fire, the activation of quantum consciousness abilities that emerge when reality itself becomes unstable. Modern quantum shamans recognize this as the spontaneous development of observer effect mastery, the ability to consciously influence reality formation through focused awareness. Revelation 5, the Many Worlds Survival Protocol. The most classified aspect of quantum weapons research involves what physicists call the Many Worlds Protocol, the theoretical ability to access parallel reality branches where ecological collapse hasn't occurred. 13. Using quantum superposition principles. These devices can supposedly shift consciousness between dimensional probability streams, allowing users to experience alternative Earth timelines where different environmental choices were made. But extinction probability calculations reveal the terrifying truth about this technology. Each quantum jump between reality branches weakens the barriers maintaining dimensional integrity. Eventually, overlapping realities begin to interference with each other, creating what researchers call quantum static, chaotic blending of incompatible probability streams that makes coherent reality impossible. The survival matrix indicates we may already be experiencing early stages of dimensional bleeding. Unexplained phenomena like the Mandela effect, collective memories of events that seem to have never occurred match the quantum signature of reality branch interference. Climate data that keeps changing. Species that appear and disappear from scientific records, and historical events that seem to shift between different versions all suggest quantum weapons testing is destabilizing our dimensional coherence. Ancient wisdom traditions spoke of the time of many Earths, a prophetic period when multiple reality streams would converge, forcing humanity to choose which timeline to inhabit permanently. Modern quantum shamans understand this as the inevitable consequence of quantum consciousness technology. We must either master reality navigation as a species, or watch all possible futures collapse into quantum chaos. Revelation 6, magnetic field disruption and consciousness awakening. Earth's weakening magnetic field isn't just affecting bird migration and electronic equipment. It's dismantling the electromagnetic barriers that normally limit human consciousness expansion. Military quantum research has discovered that magnetic field fluctuations directly correlate with increased psychic phenomena, telepathic experiences, and spontaneous reality manipulation events among civilian populations. The survival matrix indicates this isn't coincidence. Earth's magnetic field has historically functioned as a consciousness-dampening field, limiting human awareness to local physical reality perception. As this field weakens due to core cooling and magnetic pole instability, humanity is gradually regaining access to quantum consciousness abilities that were naturally present in ancient populations. Ancient shamanic traditions understood Earth's magnetic field as the veil between worlds, an energetic barrier that separated ordinary consciousness from quantum field awareness. They developed techniques for temporarily transcending this barrier through altered states, allowing them to perceive and influence reality at the quantum level. Modern military researchers are essentially weaponizing these same consciousness expansion techniques. But here's the survival revelation. As Earth's magnetic field continues weakening, these abilities will become naturally available to increasing numbers of humans. The question becomes whether this consciousness evolution happens gradually enough for humanity to learn responsible quantum field interaction, or whether sudden awakening combined with ecological desperation leads to chaotic reality manipulation warfare. Extinction probability calculations show that conscious magnetic field meditation, ancient practices for harmonizing with Earth's electromagnetic rhythms, can actually stabilize both personal consciousness and local environmental systems simultaneously. The quantum entanglement between human awareness and planetary magnetic fields means that collective consciousness practices could literally strengthen Earth's magnetic field while accelerating positive reality timeline manifestation. Revelation 7. The ancient quantum code. Buried within indigenous wisdom traditions lies what quantum researchers now recognize as sophisticated understanding of reality manipulation through consciousness technology. The ancient Sanskrit texts describing Vimanas, flying vehicles powered by Mercury engines, contain precise descriptions of what modern physicists call quantum field propulsion. These weren't primitive mythologies. They were technical manuals for consciousness-powered technology. The survival matrix indicates that ancient civilizations developed quantum consciousness capabilities as responses to previous planetary crisis cycles. Megalithic structures like the pyramids, Stonehenge and Göbekli Tepe weren't just ceremonial buildings. They were quantum field amplification devices designed to stabilize reality during periods of ecological and consciousness transition. Modern quantum weapons research has reverse-engineered some of these principles. Classified documents reveal that quantum consciousness weapons achieve maximum effectiveness when operated from specific geometric configurations that match ancient temple layouts. The reason these structures remain functional after thousands of years is that they're built using quantum field mathematics that transcend normal physical limitations. But the ancient quantum code contains more than weapons technology. It contains the survival protocols for navigating planetary transformation cycles. Hidden within shamanic traditions are precise techniques for community consciousness coordination, reality stabilization practices, and collective quantum field manipulation that could reverse ecological collapse if implemented at sufficient scale. The extinction probability calculations show that ancient civilizations survived previous quantum consciousness transition periods by developing what they called tribal mind, coordinated group consciousness that functions as a collective quantum observer, maintaining reality stability through synchronized awareness practices. Revelation 8. The Time Crystal Consciousness Matrix. Recent quantum physics discoveries have revealed the existence of time crystals, matter structures that exist in multiple temporal states simultaneously. 13. Military researchers studying quantum weapons effects have discovered that consciousness itself exhibits time crystal properties during reality manipulation events. When focused awareness achieves sufficient quantum coherence, it begins operating across multiple timeline probabilities simultaneously. This explains why ancient prophecies contain specific details about modern technological developments. Consciousness operating in time crystal mode can perceive probability streams extending across centuries. The survival matrix indicates that current ecological crisis is triggering spontaneous time crystal consciousness activation in increasing numbers of humans as an evolutionary adaptation. But here's the most dangerous revelation. Quantum weapons research has discovered how to artificially induce time crystal consciousness states in military personnel, creating soldiers who can operate across multiple timeline probabilities simultaneously. These quantum commandos can theoretically perform missions in one timeline while maintaining awareness of alternative reality branches, allowing them to optimize military strategies across multiple dimensional possibilities. The extinction probability calculations show that time crystal consciousness represents either humanity's greatest survival tool or our final destruction mechanism. Collective time crystal awareness could allow our species to simultaneously experience all possible environmental recovery scenarios and select the optimal path forward. But uncontrolled time crystal consciousness activation could fragment human awareness across so many timeline possibilities that coherent civilization becomes impossible. Ancient traditions spoke of the time when all moments converge, a prophetic period when linear time perception would dissolve and humanity would experience past, present, and future simultaneously. Modern quantum shamans recognize this as the inevitable result of consciousness evolution during planetary crisis. We either learn to navigate time crystal awareness collectively, or lose ourselves in infinite probability chaos. Revelation 9. The Observer Effect Revolution. The most profound discovery in quantum consciousness research is that reality formation isn't passive. It's actively creative. Every observation doesn't just collapse wave functions into definite states. It selects which possibility becomes manifest from infinite quantum potential 1115. This means conscious beings aren't just witnessing reality. They're continuously creating it through the act of awareness itself. Military quantum weapons research has weaponized this principle by developing observer effect amplifiers, devices that magnify the reality-creating power of consciousness to military operational levels. A single trained operator using these devices can theoretically overwrite local reality parameters, changing physical laws, environmental conditions, and even historical events within limited spatial zones. But the survival matrix indicates this technology has been incomplete because it operates from individual consciousness rather than collective awareness. Ancient shamanic traditions understood that reality creation becomes exponentially more powerful when multiple consciousness streams coordinate through what they called the unified field of intention. The extinction probability calculations show that Earth's ecological crisis is actually triggering spontaneous collective observer effect activation among human populations. Environmental activism, global meditation events, and climate consciousness movements are unconsciously implementing ancient quantum field coordination techniques. The more humans focus collective attention on environmental healing, the more reality begins shifting toward ecological recovery timelines. This explains why environmental prediction models keep underestimating both positive and negative changes. Reality is becoming increasingly responsive to collective consciousness as quantum field sensitivity increases during planetary transition periods. We're not just witnessing environmental change, we're unconsciously creating it through the power of mass observation and intention. Revelation 10. The quantum shaman's survival imperative. The convergence of quantum weapons technology, ecological collapse, and consciousness evolution has created an unprecedented survival challenge requiring immediate quantum shaman activation across human populations. The survival matrix indicates that traditional environmental solutions, renewable energy, conservation, political action, remain necessary but insufficient. Reality itself has become unstable, and only consciousness-based reality stabilization can prevent complete civilizational collapse. Every human being now carries the responsibility of quantum field stewardship. The observer effect that quantum physicists study in laboratories is operating continuously through every moment of awareness. What you observe, how you observe, and the consciousness state from which you observe are literally determining which version of reality manifests around you and everyone connected to your awareness field. The ancient codes scattered across wisdom traditions worldwide contain the technical specifications for collective reality stabilization during planetary crisis periods. But these codes must be activated through conscious practice rather than intellectual understanding. The survival matrix indicates that meditation, prayer, shamanic journeying, and other consciousness expansion practices are actually quantum field engineering techniques disguised as spiritual disciplines. Military researchers studying quantum weapons effects have documented that communities practicing collective consciousness techniques show remarkable resistance to both environmental destruction and quantum field manipulation attacks. The reason indigenous populations have survived previous civilization collapses is that their wisdom traditions maintain active quantum field stabilization practices that protect both local reality coherence and ecological health. But time grows short. Extinction probability calculations show that without massive consciousness intervention within the next solar cycle, Earth's reality matrix will reach cascade failure threshold, the point where environmental collapse and quantum field instability become mutually reinforcing, making recovery impossible regardless of technological intervention. The quantum field responds to the depth of your commitment. Quantum shamans' every moment of expanded awareness contributes to the survival matrix that determines whether our species navigates this transition or dissolves into probability chaos. Your consciousness is not separate from the environmental crisis. It is the solution mechanism evolution has provided. The ancient sages who survived previous planetary transformations left us the codes, but only collective activation can implement them at the scale required. The quantum weapons that threaten our reality can become tools of healing when wielded by consciousness that has remembered its true power. The choice between extinction and transcendence isn't being made in government laboratories or environmental conferences. It's being made in the quantum field of awareness that you access every time you meditate, every time you connect with nature, every time you choose love over fear. Earth's magnetic field weakens daily. The biodiversity collapse accelerates, and quantum reality grows increasingly unstable. But consciousness evolution accelerates faster. The survival matrix awaits your activation. As quantum shamans navigating the collapse and rebirth of reality itself, remember, the universe is not dying, it is transforming. Your role is to ensure that transformation births a reality where life flourishes rather than one where existence itself becomes impossible. The quantum field listens, reality responds. The future remains unwritten, choose wisely. Quantum shamans, the survival of consciousness itself depends on the choices you make in the quantum field of the present moment.